Another impromptu video, as I don't have my selfie stick. I wasn't planning to do a video this morning, but I couldn't resist reporting in on just the most explosive public meeting last night in Bakewell. It made me chuckle actually, because it made me realise that this kind of not in my backyard, highly parochial fight energy is not just limited to Crestbrook, but it seems to be a Derbyshire thing, or maybe it just seems to be a British thing. But it was quite hilarious to experience it. So basically, there was a meeting at Bakewell Town Hall last night. It was hosted by a group who are putting together a feasibility study on bringing the railway back between Buxton and Matlock, which will run through Bakewell, and essentially on the original line, which is now the Monsell Trail, which was taken out after the Beeching reports. I think it's Beeching or Beecher reports of the 1960s that recommended that a lot of branch lines be closed. And of course, it was all about the advent of the motor car and that no one would need trains because everyone would have their own vehicle. And of course, short-sightedly, because now it's an absolute nightmare to get into Bakewell, because it's just like a line of cars, especially if you try and get in like on a Saturday morning, especially if it's good weather. I mean, the cars can be queuing back to Chatsworth to get into Bakewell, and it's just a nightmare with cars and parking. And it's like, why isn't there a railway that comes to Bakewell? It's such a no-brainer. But of course, this meeting, I mean, they did a presentation and they said really clearly, you know, there will be questions and a discussion time afterwards. So let's do the presentation and let's, you know, then we can have an open discussion where you can put your opinions and ask any questions. And so, of course, as the guy got into, I felt sorry for this guy actually, as he got into his presentation, of course, the shouts started and the bite backs, and it was actually quite astonishing. So just to give a little bit of a context to this, of course, Derbyshire, along with many other places in the UK, were the site of the first industrial revolution back in the 1770s, with all of the machinery and engineering coming online, and the mills and the spinning jenny and all of these inventions. And then the second industrial revolution took place in the 19th century, in the Victorian era, with the advent of trains and railways, because of course it meant that all of these goods and things like the cotton could be brought in from the Manchester docks into places like Crestbrook for the mills. So this was the second industrial revolution in the 19th century. And of course, if there'd been things like Peak Park, like planning regulations back in those days, there's no way on earth that planning permission would ever have been given for the Victorians to blast through, to dynamite through all of the hills to build the tunnels and the huge viaducts, which are massively picturesque and photographed monuments now, and you know, kind of grade 1 listed are probably, no doubt. And the same applies to Crestbrook. Of course, all of the houses which were built, all of the forest was razed to the ground to build all the workers' houses as the mill grew. And so the second industrial revolution was what brought transport, and there was a huge outcry at the time, apparently. And I guess it's kind of parallel to where we are now with the fourth industrial revolution. I mean, a lot of us speaking out about what's coming down the line with things like AI, and already a lot of concern about I won't say the word because probably get a YouTube ban. So this fourth industrial revolution of everything digital, which will ultimately lead to digital slavery without a doubt, which is why it's probably the most dangerous industrial revolution of them all. because of course when you've got things like AI robots and facial recognition and everything automated, it just completely takes the heart and soul, the human element out of everything, and it's just a kind of yes, no, on, off, black, white, you will not pass or you can pass kind of algorithm that is going to control everything. And so that is why there's so much concern about this fourth industrial revolution. But back to the meeting. So of course there were people who were absolutely dead set against the reintroduction of the railway, and there were people there who were absolutely in favour. So it really was division, so much division. I'm going to have to change hands here. So it was just interesting from a sort of just a human perspective to observe the dynamic of this extremely divided audience. And but the interesting thing is, because I sort of stood up and I thanked the guy for his presentation and apologised for the rudeness of the audience. And I said I think it's a no-brainer, personally, having experienced the amount of traffic coming in and out of Bakewell as a Bakewell resident. But I said it would be really interesting to take the pulse of the audience and see who is in favour of this and who is against it. So, and of course, no one like that. Oh, this should be time for questions, not taking show of hands. But anyway, the guy persevered, and it was interesting because the majority of the audience said that they were in favour. And so isn't it interesting how the sometimes the sort of loudest voices shouting down something aren't actually the majority, that they don't actually reflect the majority opinion of the people. And so it's really interesting because, of course, what will happen, I mean, the plan is to reintroduce the railway. All of the kind of the tracks aren't there, but the where the tracks were is a very wide path. All of the stations are there. Most of the bridges are still there. The tunnels are still there. I mean, they would need some strengthening, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility to restore that railway. And of course, what that would mean in this plan, in the vision that they were presenting, was that you will be able to get on a train at St Pancras, London St Pancras, and go all the way to Manchester, and you will be able to come to places like Cressbrook. I mean, there isn't a station at Cressbrook, but certainly Monsell Head. And literally get on a train and come to somewhere like Cressbrook. Now, of course, that's going to divide opinion because there's a sort of local wave of sentiment which is like, we don't want any more tourists and visitors. But then you have to ask, well, why provoke a nationwide tabloid newspaper campaign which has kind of quadrupled the footfall here? It's interesting noticing year on year so many more people walking Cressbrook Dale because it's really been put on the map by this hate campaign focused on me, which resulted in a lot of it was in practically every tabloid newspaper twice, once in January and again in April. So yeah, it's really put Cressbrook Dale on the map. But personally, I think it's wonderful. I feel it is beautiful for people to come and experience this amazing dale, and it really is so beautiful, pristine nature, you know. And most people do respect nature, you know. They don't leave their litter. They kind of respect the countryside code, and keep to the footpaths and take their litter home, and quite respectful. So personally, I'm all in favour of people unplugging from city life and restoring their connection to nature, because to me that absolutely is our salvation with what is coming with this digital everything. And especially if you live in a city, aware of everything, even the supermarkets. It's kind of like, I mean, there's some model supermarkets now, aren't there, where you can basically don't even need to pay. You just go in through some gates and take what you want from the shelves, and all of the digital technology tracks it all and then debits your card, and you don't even there's no humans involved. Oh my god, that's the way we're going, folks. Well, that's the way the plan is wanting to go, but of course there are others who have a different vision for our collective future, which is a restoration of our connection to nature and working in local community, growing our own food, so we don't even have to go into one of those supermarkets, and through local independent food networks and doing things locally, basically, so we don't have to be subject to the whims of the corporatocracy, which is the new aristocracy, is the big corporate, because ultimately, and they own the governments, so that's the way the wind is blowing. But it doesn't mean that we have to, doesn't mean that our ship has to go in that direction. We can set a firm rudder and set our sails and chart a different course for our collective future. So I just wanted to report in, because actually I can vision that railway. In fact, I visioned it from way back when I was involved with the Sustainable Bakewell group many years ago. They asked me to be a director because I guess they wanted a bit of publicity because of my profile, my dragon profile. And that was one of the things, along with hydropower in the River Wye, the possibility of where some of the mill wheels were, of putting hydro turbines in to create electricity. A sensible idea, in my humble opinion. I mean, the first industrial revolution was all about water power, certainly up here in the Dales. And as part of being involved in Sustainable Bakewell, there was that conversation of like, it's so crazy that there's no railway, why don't we bring this back? But at that time, the tunnels had all been closed, even for walkers, but I think those have since been restored. So I think you can walk or cycle all the way from Bakewell to Buxton now, because all of the tunnels are open. I do believe that's the case. Correct me if I'm wrong. But to me, everything is possible, and I do vision trains once again going along the Monsell Trail. To me, the simple solution, because a lot of the issue was losing the Monsell Trail, which they're proposing to kind of reroute and recreate a new trail ahead of the train reinstatement. But maybe a simple thing would just be to have a single railway, because it's very wide, the Monsell Trail. It's a double track width railway line, if you imagine how wide that is, if you imagine a normal railway track. Yeah, just to have a single track with maybe some passing points, and keep half of it for the cyclists and the walkers. That seems to me to be a sensible solution. And also to have some beautiful tourist trains as well, like you have in Machu Picchu, like shuttle trains, which are just like so you can enjoy the peaks and get off. That stop at every station. So yeah, exciting times. And I am looking forward to the day when you can jump on a train in London or Manchester and come and say hello. Within I think it would probably take about 2 hours to get from London. It takes about 1 hour 50 to get to Chesterfield. Yeah, so maybe about just over 2 hours, I would imagine, 2 hours 15 to get to here. So yeah, everything's possible. And together we are recreating our way of life on this planet, and it's a very exciting time to be alive. So sending you lots of love, and bye for now.